do a new project, and maybe it'll load. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is pick the sprites, which if you are on Scratch at all, that should be fairly obvious. But what I'm going to do is, all it's going to be is it's going to be hopefully really simple. Just 2 balls, one blue, one red, and they'll shoot lasers at each other. So hopefully it won't be too hard. From what I know, it won't be too hard. Oh, dang it, forgot to turn off outline. Pro tip, if you want to be able to make good sprites that don't have outlines on, turn off outlines. Okay, so, that's too small, so right now what I'm going to do is I enlarged it, and now I'm going to move it to the side. The specific coordinates are here and here. And now, that since that's the blue side, now I'm going to, not do that. I'm going to paint a sprite, use the circle tool, and this time I'm going to change it to red. And then, should be good. Or, and that's one way you can do it. Or another way, if you didn't know this, you can actually, here, I'm going to change it to the mouse, copy it, and then take this, delete this, paste the blue one, then replace that with red color. So now I will be able to do it right here. And there's the sprites. It's really easy. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make, here it is. It's this button, and I'm just going to shrink it down. Well, if it'll let me actually access it. This button 2, I'm going to shrink it quite a bit and adjust it either blue or red. Right now it's blue, so that'll be perfect for the normal blue one. And this sprite, it's just called button 2. And so what I'm going to do is here, you group everything together, and then you should be able to shrink it. Well, wrong tool. So now I can make it much, much thinner. And right now it just looks kind of wonky, but it's decent. And there's the blue laser. And copy this, draw sprite, or paint sprite, and then paste it. And now what I'm going to do is the fill tool, and I'm going to set it to completely red. Well, first I guess I'm going to need to actually make it larger so I can access all the points. I'm going to have to restart that because I made a really bad decision. So, fill is going to be completely red. There we go. And so, I don't know if this is like the right way to code, but this is how I do it at least. What I do is I open a new tab, go on Scratch, and since I'm coding, I'm not always good at completely memorizing code, and I still know how to do it, but it's just easier if I do it like this, and I recommend you do it. Pull up a separate something, like project, someone else's project. Well, not someone else's project, hopefully. But what you do is see inside, and you can look at the code. So what I want to do is I want to make it to where each orb, each circle will have an HP variable. So what I do is make a variable. First one is going to be blue HP. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, since the blue is right here, I'm going to set the blue HP right here. And then a second variable, red HP. Whoops. Don't know how that happened. Red HP. Of course. red HP. That was nice. And what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to drag it over here. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to fire. So it actually shoots. And, well, this is a bad example because I have a much better project that'll help with this. So what I'm going to do, go to projects. This is probably the hardest one I ever made. Defeat the dragon. And so see inside. Okay. And, here's this. It's basically a laser beam for the princess character. And there's the code. So what I'm going to do is basically copy the code. It's not quite right, but so what I want is I want the D key to fire it for blue, and I want the left arrow key to fire it for red. So what I'm going to do, go to blue, and then events, and first, this is actually easier to do, when green flag clicked, I want it to hide so it doesn't show, which, I mean, duh. And a good way to do it for both sprites is you can actually drag and drop it. So there, now when green flag clicked, it's gonna hide, and that's good. And for this one, I'm actually going to include an extra step, and here's the current X and the current Y. So go to, and after you hide, go to this, to that exact spot. And here's the red. I'm going to do the same thing. And now, even if I were to move it over here, click the green flag, it's hidden. And if I show it, let me find it. Show, boom, it's back. So that's how it's supposed to work. And obviously there's always glitches and stuff that could happen. But whenever that happens, I mean, I guess it's just a learning experience. And so now, here's what it's supposed to do. But now we actually need to add the firing mechanic. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to code the blue. And so motion, it'll be, or no, it's actually going to be an event. Sorry. Event. When blank key pressed, in this case it's going to be D. So when D gets pressed, then I'm going to show it. Let me get it. Show. I'm going to get this for later. So I'm going to show it. I'm going to glide. It's on the motions. It's going to glide. 1 second or it's going to glide. Well, where is it? I'm going to need it to be the same X. So, right here. The X is across. Or no, it's going to need to be the same Y. I'm confused. I'm confusing myself. How am I doing this? So what I need to do is still get that other project, because I figured out how to do it there. And like I said, everything takes time to learn, and I haven't done this in a bit. So I'm going to go back to scratch. open as many tabs as you need to. So here, this one, Ironclad Fight, and what I'm going to do is see inside, like it has been, and go to this. And so when the D key is pressed, I'm gonna set the X. I'm gonna just set the X, and then wait. And if I'm touching this one, which is for some reason I called it wheel, and I'm gonna need to change the red HP. So it's not too complicated. And so it's gonna stay the same. It's gonna stay the same Y as you had it. But it's just gonna go to the different X. So now, that's the wrong one. When D key pressed, I'm going to need to change X or set X to whatever the sprite to for red. What's its X is 279. So Control C, and then go back here. And what I'm going to need to do is set X to that. So Control V, 279. And right now all it's gonna do is when I press D, it's going to it's gonna go that. It's gonna do that basically. So it's gonna go to where the red is. And let me show it really quick. But well, see? And this is one of the cases where you need to make sure you do this right. And all the mistakes you make can be learning experiences. So there, now it'll work. So all it's gonna do is just set X to this, to the same X as the other one. And you can obviously use like your own code for the coding blocks, like the create your own block, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't know how to. And I mean, I could totally learn. I'm just not going to, guys. So set the X, and then you have to wait just a tiny bit. So for this one, wait 0.5 seconds. I mean, no, that's Control, yeah. So here, 0.5 seconds, and then now I'm going to need to make an if loop. If I'm touching the sprite, if I'm touching sprite 2, I'm going to need to adjust the red HP. So sprite 2. And then if I'm touching it, then what I'm going to need to do is change the red, and then I'm going to hide it. I'm going to set it back to the normal X, to X7, to this X. And then I'm going to here. I got confused for a second. And then I'm going to also adjust the red's HP. So if I'm touching sprite, then what I'm going to need to do is variables. First, change red HP by -1. And obviously, when your project, I don't know what HP you're going to have. Like, for example, in this defeat the dragon. The dragon, it has 1,000 HP. So each attack doesn't do just 1 damage, because that'd be way too hard. So it just depends on what project you're doing and how you're doing it. But now it's going to change the red HP and go back. It's going to go to the X it launched from, right here. And now it's going, and then it's going to hide. Duplicate. I always keep a hide and a show block just handy because it's like, at least in my case, it's one of the only ones I actually need to use. Like, it's one of the only ones I need to use in sound. In looks. I keep not talking right. So it's just easier to do it like that. And so that's all it's going to need to do if it's touching it. But if it's not, well, I'm making a really bad mistake. And it just started raining, so if you're hearing some weird stuff, that's what it is. So actually what I was supposed to be using the entire time is an if-else loop. So if it's touching sprite 2, then change this XP. But if it isn't, then what I'm going to do is I just duplicated it using the double click, and now I moved it down here. So it's just the same stuff, just minus change red HP. And also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a little block. And honestly, you can make this on literally whatever sprite you want, even on your backdrop. But so what I'm going to do is when the green flag is clicked, set blue HP to, in this case it's going to be 10, and red HP to 10. Red HP to 10. Boom. And I did that. So now when it's done, oh, see? And in that case, I made a mistake. I accidentally put change by 10, when it should really just be set to 10. So now, let me put in 10, and now, boom, it goes from 28 to 10. So, that's all I need for blue. Or no, it's actually not all. I'll show you the next part in a second. But now I'm just going to replicate this, but for the red. And it's not really going to be too much different. It's just, for me at least, a bit easier to do it for red. So since I want to use the left arrow key to shoot it, I'm going to shoot when it's, oh, I just passed it at the very start. And then left arrow key is pressed. I'm going to need it to be shown. And I'm going to need to set the X to, in this case, 137. Wait 0.5 seconds, and if I'm touching, instead of sprite 2, sprite 1, I'm going to need to change the blue HP and set the X to, and then I'm going to set the X back to the same X as the red. Its X is 279, so 279. And here, wait, 279. And if else, still 279. So whenever I press the left arrow, wait, oh yeah, I forgot that part. You have to click the green flag sometimes for the code to start working. See, in that case, I did the wrong thing. I set X to, I didn't change the X to the blue X. So blue's X is 156. And so, or negative 156. So, negative 156. And now it should hopefully work. Oh, if I'm actually on the page, see? There, and it's changed the blue HP by 9. So, obviously, it'd be really, wait, I'm gonna check just to make sure. Always make sure that you have about the same code. This is just all I need for it to actually work normally. So, I'm gonna restart it so they're the same HP. And obviously, it'd be super, super boring if all it was is just, yeah, I'm gonna shoot you. Oh, now I'm gonna shoot you without moving. So what you do is, before you listen, this is like a player versus player thing. So, what you need to do is, since this is, so for example, I'm going to be here, I want to move, and all you have to do is events, then when blank keys pressed, in this case it's going to be W and S, then you're going to have to change the X and Y respectively. I mean, just the Y. Negative and positive. And so in this one, it's going to S. And you can obviously also use whatever size you want. But in this case, I changed the X and Y by 10. So when W key is pressed, I'm just going to change the Y by 10. And when the S key is pressed, since that would be down, WASD, it's going to be just -10. Here. Now, I'm gonna click green flag, W, and then I just realized I did it for red, but like, that's another, I guess, learning experience / mistake. And so all I'm going to do is move it to here. And so this one has already been done right. This is already completely done. Or no, it's actually, no, I'll show you the very last part in a second. And so now, instead of W and S, I'm just going to change it to the up arrow being +10 and the down arrow being -10. Boom. And now the final step. So the final step is really easy. It's just you have to set the Y to whatever Y you want. In this case, I'm going to put the red to -30. So X and when the green flag will be clicked here, I need to set the X and Y to its exact X and Y right now. And now I'm gonna do the same thing except blue's X and Y. So X, here it is, the green flag, and there's the X, -156, -19. So this one is technically a bit lower, but when you start, but it won't make too much of a difference. But you always need to check. So right now, I'm going to just simply click the D, and it still works. And if I click left, it still works. So it doesn't really matter as long as it's about even. Like, obviously that's not completely even, but it's kind of close to even. And that's it. And if you want to do extra detail, you can obviously add sounds and backdrops. So like, for example, I'm going to play a sound. Whoops, that was not the right one. That was just pop. And I'm going to record, except I'm not actually going to record. I'm going to go into a sound library and shoot. One I could use would be like, I'm gonna see what that sounds like. Does that sound like? Okay, that does. I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounded like the Predator basically. So that is not what I want. I want it to be a sound effect that sounds kind of like a laser shooting, like in the sci-fi show. So I'm going to look. It shouldn't be too long. Well, maybe not. I don't know. They should not be taking this long. Okay, Wiz. That doesn't quite work. So this is good. This is what I'm going to use, is Zoop. So whenever I press the B, it's going to do Zoop until it's done. And this is the same. I'm just going to play sound, and each sprite has its own different little thing. So, well, dang it, I did the wrong thing. Here it is. Like, each sound only connects for the sprite, is what I meant to say. So go back to space and Zoop. So now I'm gonna go back to code, play sound Zoop until I'm done. That's correct. And now choosing a backdrop. And my backdrop is going to be, I'm just gonna choose some kind of futuristic or spacey thing. Like, I could do any of these. I'm probably going to do Neon Tunnel. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do for mine, is Neon Tunnel, and it's gonna be like, just random, hey, I guess we're gonna fight now thing. And if you want to make a title, it's really not too hard. What you do is, you paint, text. I recommend just doing all black text, but mine, I'm just gonna come up for a name. Laser Battle. That's a good one. Laser Battle. Oh, did it wrong. Of course, I spelled both of them wrong. Laser Battle. Without two A's. Laser Battle. I think that's the right way to spell it. And now I'm just going to increase the size because you can barely see it. And move it on the screen. Boom. Laser Battle. So, code, just motion. When the green flag is clicked, I'm gonna bring this height over here, and also, no, wrong thing. Just go over to here and show. When green flag clicked, I'm gonna show it. Wait a few seconds. I guess wait 1 second and hide. So right now it's showing. So laser battle, and now it's ready. And you can still obviously shoot while it's on screen, but it's really not too hard. And so now, all I'm going to do is, I'm just going to title it, Laser, not caps lock, Laser Battle. Boom. And I'm going to save this project, which for some reason I haven't done this entire time. Bad idea. I didn't do that right. So if you're ever making your own game, don't do that. And obviously just do a few instructions. And see, in this small screen right here, you can't really see it good. So now I realize that, and you always need to try to play it a bit to make sure it works. So I have to go to costume, really not going to be hard. It's fill, and it's going to be just a darker blue instead of this kind of light blue. So that should hopefully stand out more right here. And turning down the saturation a bit. So filling it. Now I'm gonna, not do that. No text. Fill. And see, still a bit more too purpley, so going up a bit brighter. And there. Boom. That's good. Save, obviously. See project page, and just describe how to play it. So this is a 2-player game for well, no. My computer's weird in that it doesn't capitalize the first letter of the sentence. So I'm going to have to go back. Always make sure you have good grammar and stuff. It kind of helps. So for the for the red team, use the up and down arrows to move, and use the left arrow to shoot. I'm just gonna add the laser. And I'm literally just gonna copy and paste that for blue. So Control C, and Control V for the, and then replace red for blue. The blue team use the W and S keys. And I'm gonna replace that arrow with G to shoot your laser. Whoops. And that's it. Oh, no, it's not. And I always put enjoy, and after I actually upload this video, I'm going to add a little note in the notes and credits. Here's where I uploaded it, so the people who are actually watching it, which are you, yes you, specifically you know who you are, and since you're watching it, you're gonna have probably most likely seen this. And I'm also gonna add this project into the video description. But always remember to add have fun, because in the end, that's the entire point of a Scratch project, is to have fun and learn about coding.